Well, good morning. Before I call this meeting to order, I'll note for the record I'll serve as acting chair for today's meeting. I now call to order the meeting of the directors of the New York State Urban Development Corporation doing business as Empire State Development for Thursday, January 17th, 2019. As noted on the agenda posted to the internet, we welcome public comment on the items on our agenda. To ensure maximum opportunity for participation, speakers representing themselves may speak for up to 2 minutes each, and if you represent a group, you may speak for up to 4 minutes, one speaker per group. As always, the directors have received the written materials in advance and are free to ask questions at any time. I'll now ask the directors if anyone has any conflicts of interest regarding the agenda items. Okay, there are none. The first item on today's agenda is the approval of the minutes of the December 6th, 2018 and December 20th, 2018 directors meeting. Any questions, comments, additions, or deletions to either of these minutes? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Both sets? I'm sorry, hold on a sec, Eric.
Since I was not present on the 6th, I just want to recuse myself from approving the 6th. I did call in telephonically, so I'll approve the 20th.
Okay, noted.
Yep.
Is there a motion to approve both sets of minutes?
Move.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. I will now ask Joan Spivak to present an item relating to amendments of the Life Science Initiative program. Joan.
Thank you. We're seeking authorization from the directors to amend Life Sciences Program guidelines and regulations pertaining to the New York Fund for Innovation in Research and Scientific Talent, known as New York First. New York First is designed to encourage the recruitment and retention by the state's medical schools of exceptional life science researchers focused on applying basic biological knowledge to solutions that address critical medical and human health needs. Such research often leads to the creation of patents, startup companies, and products with commercial potential. New York First is part of the Governor's Life Sciences Initiative. ESD adopted New York First program guidelines and regulations last January and solicited the first round of applications in April. Ongoing discussions with the medical schools to make the program as strong as possible have led to recommendations to improve the program and facilitate applications. These recommendations are reflected in the proposed changes to the guidelines and regulations. Proposed changes include expanding the use of New York First funds to cover costs for working capital in addition to capital expenditures, increasing the number of application cycles from 1 to 2 per year, which recognizes the sporadic nature of negotiating with potential faculty. There is no change to the total amount of funding under the program, which is $15 million, nor to the requirement for a 2-to-1 match by recipient schools. Thank you. I'll take any questions.
Okay, any questions from the directors on this modification to the life science guidelines? Any comments from the public on this item? Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, we're going to move to the report section of our agenda. I'm going to start with President's report. So I have a number of items I just want to kind of tick through here. Round 2 of Illuminate New York Accelerator Competition in downtown Rochester was announced on January 7th. Just as a reminder, this is for optics, photonics, and imaging, which is such a strong sector in the Rochester Finger Lakes area. 10 companies were selected. This is the second cohort of this Illuminate New York competition. So we're very pleased with how that competition has been going. There was a groundbreaking on the $24 million, this is in central New York, ultra dairy expansion at Bern Dairy. This will be a $125 million project, of which the state is investing $15 million and creating nearly 250 jobs. We're excited about that. $3 million was awarded to Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine in the Southern Tier in early January. to construct a 2-story, 52+ thousand square foot building in the vacant Arnott Park in downtown Elmira. This will be a $20 million investment to build a medical school program on the campus, so we're excited about that. Rochester Insulated Glass is expanding their operations. They have a 2-phase expansion of their headquarters in Manchester in Ontario County to create 47 new jobs. Diageo North America is relocating their headquarters from Norwalk, Connecticut to New York City. They'll be investing $31 million in a new 87,000 square foot office located at 3 World Trade Center, and 350 new jobs are coming to New York City as a result of this. So we're very pleased to announce that. You know how active we are in support of small business, and some very good news with respect to our 2018. We provided more than $188 million in direct and facilitated loans to small businesses in 2018. Over 80% of those loans went to minority and women-owned businesses, which generated more than $1.5 billion in economic impact and created about 6,000 jobs and retained about 10,000 jobs this year. So it was another stellar year. So I congratulate Pravina and everyone in our small business group for that. We published our 2018 comprehensive annual report, and I've given a copy to all of the directors. So I just want to take the opportunity to thank everyone at ESD for all of your contributions to an extraordinary year, which we detail not only the metrics and the sort of statistics of economic development, but we also highlight our strategies and give many, many examples of the kinds of work we do that align with and advance our strategies in the book. So you can find it online, and we have copies of it here as well. But it's a testament, I think, to the work that everyone here does. The governor, recent State of the State, highlighted some economic statistics. The most private sector jobs in the history of the state and the lowest unemployment rate in the history. And you see unemployment rates below 4% now in almost every single region of the state. So I can tell you, as somebody who has spent a lot of time in upstate and who watched economic recoveries come and go without upstate New York participating in them, it's been a pleasure to see the entire upstate region participate vigorously in this most recent economic expansion we've had, subsequent to 2008. So I think we all get some credit, not all the credit, but we get some credit of consequence for developing strategies and advancing and implementing very thoughtful, coherent strategies that have helped all of the regions of the state participate. So we're very proud of that. We want to congratulate 4 New York-based productions for winning 2019 Golden Globe Awards. This was announced on January 7th, and I'm going to tell you who the winners are, and then
Hold your applause.
And then you can, if somebody will give me the envelope. The best performance by an actress in a supporting role in any motion picture. Who knows who that was? It was Regina King, and the movie is If Beale Street Could Talk. There you go. You can just keep score yourself on how much you know about New York-based productions. Best television series drama. Does anyone know what the best television series drama was? The Americans. I recommend it. Best performance by an actress in a limited series of motion picture made for television. Patricia Arquette, Escape at Dannemora. You should have known that one, for sure. There's no excuse. Best performance by an actress in a TV series, musical or comedy. Rachel.
Brosnahan.
Bingo. And The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. So you've got to see that. So these four productions, since we are in economic development, not popular culture quizzing, generated $222 million in spending and created 9,854 hires across the state. So it was a good 18, and you all failed miserably that little quiz.
Because they're working too hard.
No one has time for TV.
Correct.
Okay, Glendon, will you present a summary of the projects before we get into that?
Thank you and good morning. The directors will be requested to consider 8 projects totaling $27,406,000 in grants. The projects include 8 regional council awards and 3 discretionary awards. The projects will take place in the Capital, Central New York, Finger Lakes, Mohawk Valley, Western New York, Long Island, and Southern Tier regions, leverage over $86 million of additional investment, retain 225 jobs, and create 75 jobs in the state. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Glenn. Okay, we'll move to the project section. First up will be Central New York, and Jim Fell, who'll start us off with the National Veterans Resource Center. I want to say that I believe we have 2 representatives of Syracuse University who I believe are right here in person.
My colleagues watching online, but Ray Tennyson from Syracuse University.
Okay, thanks, Ray. Thank you for being here. So Ray is here in person. Sydney Johnson is perhaps on the phone, the Executive Director of State and Local Relations. Jim, why don't you go ahead, and then we'll see if directors have any questions. And Ray, you're welcome to also chip in after Jim is done and talk about the project. Okay, thanks. Jim, go ahead.
Hey, good morning. The directors are being asked to approve a $14.5 million URI grant today to Syracuse University in order for the university to construct a 112,000 square foot LED certified multi-use National Veterans Resource Center. This will be home of the national headquarters for the Institute of Veterans and Military Families. The creation of this center is critical to build and solidify Syracuse University's effort to position Central New York as the nation's hub of research, programming, education, training, and entrepreneurship connected to veterans in the military sector. To assist with the financing of the project, the university was awarded these grants on a total project of $62.5 million project cost, and this is a priority of our URI plan and the regional council. And I'll be glad to take any questions.
Yeah, I just have a quick question.
Sure, go on.
So, presumably this construction of this project could have ended up anywhere. How did this end up at Syracuse University? It seems like it's a national project, or at
Yep.
least.
Great. We're going to, Ray, I think, is ideally suited to talk about it.
To address that is, as Jim mentioned, Syracuse University is the home to the Institute for Veterans and Military Families, which is a nationally facing institute that serves about 20 to 30,000 transitioning service members, veterans, and military families every year through employment programming, through small business and entrepreneurship programming in the Central New York region, but also serving veterans across the rest of the state and nationally as well. So Syracuse University has really emerged as a leader in this field. The past 3 years, we've been named the #1 private university for veterans in America, and we look forward to continuing to work with local, county, and state government to really advance Central New York as the best place for veterans and their family in the country.
So do veterans from around the country then come to Syracuse, so they spend a period of time at Syracuse with this program? Is that?
Yes, sir. So we have multiple programs out of the Institute. Some are residency-based, where they actually come to Syracuse for a period of time. Others are distance-based, but are run from our headquarters in Syracuse. And then we also have a growing student veteran population that's coming to Central New York to complete their degree at Syracuse University.
Undergraduate?
Undergraduate and graduate, yes, sir.
Very good.
So this obviously connects in a lot of ways to any strategies that we have about workforce development, of support for veterans, things of that nature. And Syracuse perhaps leads the country in this area in terms of integrating veterans back in the workforce and providing opportunity.
That's right.
Any other questions from directors for Ray or Jim or Sydney, who's on the phone?
Obviously important work, well done. Where's the ranking from?
Military Times.
Military Times.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, Jim, do you have any other items?
I do not.
Okay, is there a motion to approve this project? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, thank you, Ray and Cindy, for joining us.
Thank you.
Way to go. Mohawk Valley Region, Mike Reese. Mike?
Good morning, Howard.
Hey.
The directors are being asked to approve 2 grants of up to $1,748,000, which includes a $248,000 CFA award from Round 7 and a $1,500,000 URI award. The funds will be used for a portion of the cost of real estate acquisition, construction, renovation, and the purchase of equipment for the Mohawk Valley Resource Center for Refugees located in the city of Utica. The organization accepted ESD's total award in May 2018. The Resource Center for Refugees has provided services for refugees and immigrants for the past 35 years. During this time, the center has assisted over 16,000 refugees from 36 countries. Services include housing, health screening, cultural orientation, employment assistance, citizenship, and immigration services. The Mohawk Valley Resource Center for Refugees acquired 201 Bleecker Street in downtown Utica and completed renovations and outfitting of the building to establish the One World Welcome and Opportunity Center. Capital investment will allow the center to establish a physical location that not only meets the needs of its current programs, but will also allow community partners to locate on-site to provide additional services to their clients. In addition, the project has resulted in the Resource Center securing multi-year funding from the Chobani Foundation to fund an opportunity and entrepreneurship coordinator. Total budget for the project is $2,732,166. The project was completed January 2019, and the project is consistent with the REDC's opportunity agenda to identify and provide services to underserved communities. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks. Any questions or comments from directors on this
Yes.
Opportunity Center?
I know about Utica's reputation. I've been to Utica to see the work they're doing with refugees. Given that the current federal administration is not interested in increasing the number of refugees, will that in any way impact this program and this grant?
They have experienced some financial impacts with budget cuts because of the federal reduction in the number of refugees coming into the country. That was one of the reasons our award was typically is higher than what we would normally do on a project. But they are also adding additional services and providing these services well outside the boundaries of the city of Utica. We have employers as far away as in Fonda, Montgomery County, that are receiving services, and employers that are employing these refugees. So it's an ongoing service-providing organization, not just for the new refugees coming into the country.
Okay.
And the organization has invested its required equity?
Yes, they have.
Any other questions or comments from directors on this item? Are there any comments from the public on this? Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Thanks, Derek. Second, Cesar. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mike Yevely will present an item, I think, relating to the port. I can't help but notice Megan Daly is in the room with us, so we're very pleased to welcome you, Megan, who heads the Port of Albany. And so Mike will start. Megan, you're welcome to participate. I assume that's why you came, to help. Oh, okay. Well, you'll be invited to participate. Your choice. Mike, take it away.
Thank you, Howard. Good morning, directors. I do have just this one project for consideration today, a $4 million capital grant to Albany Port District Commission for the Albany Port Big Lift Warehouse. It's a regional award round 5 priority project. The total project cost is over $8.1 million. The project was completed in December 2018. The Port District Commission is a public corporation which serves regional customers including Siemens, General Electric, Mohawk Paper, as well as customers throughout the world seeking to transport goods. The project includes the construction of a 45,000 square foot warehouse and port facility improvements allowing for the efficient and safe movement of cargo. Specifically, the Big Lift Maritime Operation Warehouse is a high bay, clear span, temperature controlled building with 2,000 pound per square foot floor capacity to handle heavy displaced loads. It has heavy rail running right through the structure and multiple oversized overhead doors to allow regional manufacturers to connect to the Port of Albany with cargo that can be stored cumulatively until being shipped out. An example of this is a lot of the large power equipment that's manufactured in the region gets shipped in component parts to the port due to the size and overland transportation that's needed. They can cumulatively collect these component parts here for shipment overseas, wherever the power equipment is being shipped to. The project is consistent with the Capital Region's Economic Development Council Gateway strategy, which specifically identifies modernizing and expanding our region's ports to store and handle more cargo efficiently. The project also supports our manufacturing cluster by providing critical infrastructure to allow them to meet worldwide customer demand. I am happy to answer any questions.
Okay, are there any questions from the directors on this item? Megan, do you want to add anything to that presentation?
I think that Mike really said it all. Just really wanted to say thank you. Actually, this means a great deal to the Port of Albany and even more to manufacturers in the region. The pieces are all told almost as big as this room, and this warehouse can hold about 14 of them until they ship to places around the world. So this is really helping the port as well as the regional economy, and we're quite thankful for this support.
Okay, great. Is there a motion to approve this item? I'm sorry, I should ask if there's any comments from the public. Any comments from the public on this? Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Thank you. Second. Hilda, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Megan. All right, next up, Loretta Bine will present the Paul Corporation Capital Project from the Long Island region. Loretta.
Hello, good morning. Paul is a global life sciences company with 1,100 employees in Nassau and Suffolk counties on Long Island and in Cortland in central New York. So in August of 2016, ESD agreed to assist Paul with a $2 million economic development grant, and they also got assistance from the Nassau County IDA. They provided the company with tax incentives in exchange for retaining 225 scientific R&D high-wage jobs for the Long Island region. The economic development funding was a critical part of the company's decision to remain in Nassau County. The funding assisted the company with a $3 million investment for equipment and real estate improvements at the project location. As a result, the company will maintain its employment level of 225 jobs, which were at risk of relocating to existing facilities in Massachusetts and Florida. So this project is consistent with the Regional Economic Development Council industry designation of life sciences for Long Island. And today we are requesting the board approve the grant as Paul finalized the construction and investment last April, and the project is on track with its promise to retain 225 high-wage jobs in the Long Island region through 2023.
Okay. Any questions or comments from directors on this Paul Corporation item? Are there any comments from the public on this item? Is there a motion to approve? Thank you, Derek. Second. Hilda, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, Loretta, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, Western New York, Amanda Mays, Chautauqua Harbor Hotel. Amanda?
Good morning. We have one project from Western New York today. The directors are requested to approve a total of $1,908,000 for Chautauqua Harbor Hotels, LLC, for construction, furniture, fixtures, and equipment of a new destination resort hotel on the shores of Chautauqua Lake in Celeron. The $40.4 million project is supported through $1,653,000 from the Regional Council Capital Fund, which is the CFA Round 5 priority project, and a $255,000 Market New York Capital Fund grant. The hotel is located on a 9-acre parcel that was once home to the Celeron Amusement Park, which closed in 1962. The design of the hotel pays homage to the history of the village of Celeron, including the amusement park and comedy great Lucille Ball, who was born in the community. It includes 135 deluxe guest rooms and suites, a restaurant, bar, banquet space, and meeting rooms. The hotel also features small exhibits from the nearby National Comedy Center in Jamestown and its lobby, connecting patrons with the nearby tourist attractions. The Chautauqua Harbor Hotel is the developer's third and largest hotel in New York State. It is expected to create at least 75 full-time jobs in addition to seasonal employment. The project provides another tourism amenity in Chautauqua County, consistent with the REDC's tourism strategy and expanding opportunities for travel to the region. The directors are also asked to make a determination of no significant impact on the environment.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions from directors with respect to the Chautauqua Harbor Hotel project? Any comments from the public regarding this Chautauqua Hotel? Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved.
Thank you, Derek. Second, Hilda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thanks, Amanda.
Thank you.
Vinny Esposito is up next. He has 2 items from the Finger Lakes. Vinny?
Good morning, Howard and directors. Yes, the first item, the directors are being asked to approve a $1.25 million capital grant from the Downtown Revitalization Initiative to the City of Geneva to support the construction of the Lake Tunnel Solar Village, which is a series of energy-efficient townhomes and single-residence homes that will have a zero energy carbon footprint with no utility bills due to various alternative energy sources. The project is a $5.3 million project. The first phase has been completed, which is the first milestone due for reimbursement, which is the first phase of 8 townhomes. The full project will be completed in the spring of 2021. The second project is a $1.5 million Regional Council Capital Fund grant from Round 5 for the town of Alabama to continue to build out infrastructure for the Western New York Science and Technology Advanced Manufacturing Park. This is affectionately known as STAMP and is something that's come before you in the past as we've continued to get this 1,200-acre mega site ready for development. This particular project allows for the expansion of water services for both the STAMP site as well as 75% of the town residents in the adjacent town of Alabama. It's an $8 million project. This grant is for $1.5 million, although significant additional funding has also come from New York State for this water line expansion, which was completed in November of 2018. Be happy to take any questions.
Okay. Any questions for Vinny on either of these 2 items, the STAMP project and the DRI? I should note that in the State of the State, the governor again put forth another round of the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, so we're excited about that.
Great idea, wasn't
It was a great idea. Required good management. And as well as a continuation of the Regional Economic Development Council, $750 million that we have enjoyed implementing across the state for the past many years. So those are 2 signature economic development initiatives that are again in the executive budget this year. So we're excited about that. Any questions or comments with respect to either of these 2 Finger Lakes projects for Vinny?
So I just had a quick question that on the for the $1.25 million grant. There's a there's a customer construction loan to make the project work of almost $3 million. What is the customer construction loan?
So I don't know specifically what that is. The developer has financed the project with some equity, a line of credit, a loan, and our grant. And so I think that's analogous to a construction loan for any kind of project to allow them to finance the initial phases of the project.
Right.
Okay.
They generally don't get permanent financing till they have a kind of a short-term construction loan, which then rolls into permanent financing once it's completed.
Okay.
Other questions or comments from directors on either of these 2 items? Any comments from the public on either of these 2 Finger Lakes items? Is there a motion to approve both items?
Move.
Derek, is there a second? Cesar, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, Vinnie, thank you very much. Jeff Nordhaus, representative item relating to New York Broadband. Jeff.
Hi, thank you, Howard. I'd like to present regarding our satellite awards. These are the awards that were approved by the directors in July and November for the Hughes Satellite Awards to unserved areas. As you know, when the board approves these awards, we go out and do public hearings, and then if there are any comments in the public hearings, we bring these back to the board for reconsideration. So in connection with 11 New York Broadband Phase 3 awards to Hughes, which was $15.6 million of funding, we had a fairly extensive process to do these public hearings, and that's because we had 76,000 households covered by these awards, and this was in 914 towns and 56 counties across the state, which touched 9 regions. So under ESD regulations, we actually contacted all 914 town supervisors through certified mail, and we filed project plans with all 56 counties. So actually, before I go on, I just want to thank the team that works in the broadband office for really, I think, a fairly, I don't know, unprecedented perhaps, but Herculean at least effort. And I'd also like to thank the legal team, Maria and Liz, for really guiding us through this process. Thank you so much for helping. I know this was a big effort. So the good news is I think the process went really well. We went out to 3 regions, each of which was within a 2 to 2.5 hour drive time of any of those 76,000 locations, according to our mapping, and presented those. So there were 3 regional hearings. One was in Bath in the southern tier. Second was in Milton in the mid-Hudson region, and the third was in Indian Lake in the North Country region. There were no and also in addition to what I mentioned with the town supervisors, we also took out newspaper ads, and we do all the other requirements that were in there. So in all these towns, we had newspaper ads and publicities and so forth. There were no speakers adverse to the project in the southern tier. We had 1 speaker at the mid-Hudson region, and we had 5 speakers in the North Country. And as a result of what I talked about with the drive times, we also had a special provision where anyone could write us or send us an email with a comment. So we also opened that as an additional feature of this. And we received 6 submissions by email or mail in connection with the projects. So today I just want to briefly touch on the comments that we got for all these public hearings, which can be put into 7 categories. The first one, and again, this relates, we talked about this before, relates to the satellite provision of broadband services under the broadband program. So people looking for high-speed internet using satellite, and these were awarded in areas generally, for the majority, where there were no bids received at all for fiber optics, or there were no qualifying bids. So we went through a tier, and then it was 100 megabit for fiber, and then when there were no bids, it would go down, and satellite does meet the goal of 25 megabits per second, even though it's not 100 megabits fiber. So that's generally where satellite came into play. So the first was that several respondents expressed concerns about about topography or weather on the service, saying that they thought that if it was too hilly or too rainy, that they wouldn't be able to receive the service, and that they wouldn't be able to offer the service to those homes. So we've actually gone back and confirmed all these points. So with respect to that, Hughes will offer service to 100% of all the customer locations within the New York Broadband census blocks. As with satellite TV, providing satellite-based internet service requires a line of sight to the satellite, and for nearly all locations, that is not an issue. For a small percentage, they estimate around 1% of locations, there could be constraints on achieving a line of sight due to obstructions or customer specifics in terms of where the house is located. Hughes has committed to work with customers on a case-by-case basis to resolve those challenges, to review line of sight obstructions, and to the extent feasible as required by program guidelines, to offer a corrective solution so that service can be achieved for all customer locations within the grant area. In addition, satellite internet service from Hughes is only affected by weather in very extreme circumstances and is generally not a concern for the service. Second, internet speeds and variability. Certain respondents noted that Hughes can only offer download speeds of 25 megabits and asked New York State to consider supporting alternative technologies with greater speed or greater capacity. One respondent expressed concern about qualifications in the marketing that actual speeds may vary and are not guaranteed. In fact, you'll see that on your cable service or your fiber service. That's kind of, you'll see that on all your cable bills. But anyway, the areas awarded to Hughes are located in unserved census blocks where the New York Broadband program received no qualifying bids by other internet providers, or where there was insufficient program funding to support such bids. These areas would thus remain unserved absent the Hughes awards. So that's in terms of, we did seek faster or better technologies for those areas. The grant supported Hughes service is nonetheless consistent with the goal of ensuring statewide broadband access is 25 megabits in the most rural and remote parts of the state, and it will utilize Hughes' latest Generation 5 satellite internet service. Hughes' prior service, Generation 4, was capable of delivering 15 megabits or less, whereas Generation 5 can deliver 25 megabits. Pricing and timing. A respondent objected to perceived pricing and rollout time frame for the Hughes service under the impression that customers would be required to pay in excess of $130 a month and that the service would not be available until 2020. This is actually not correct. As required by the program, Hughes will be required to offer download speeds of 25 for a monthly rate of $60. And a one-time installation fee not to exceed $49. The $60 rate can be adjusted based on the CPI or Consumer Price Index. In addition, Hughes will begin offering the service in all grant-supported areas in the very near future. It's estimated to be Q1 of 2019, but we're working hard to get that service stood up right now. Moving along, data allowances. Several respondents described concerns related to Hughes' limitations on data use and inquired about data allowances associated with the grant-supported service and the impact on service when they are exceeded. The grant-supported service plans contain monthly data allowances in order to allow the satellite technology to properly function. But these are soft data caps, not what the industry calls a hard data cap. So a soft data cap means you can go up to your data cap at 25 megabits per second, and when you hit that, the service will slow down, similar to what you might have seen on your cell phone plan. A hard data cap would be you hit your data cap and they shut you off. You can't use the internet anymore for the month. So again, these are the soft data caps where they're just going to slow you down as opposed to cut you off. And this was actually what we think is a benefit of the program. So the monthly allowance for the sort of 25 megabit is 100 gigabytes, 25 gigabytes peak and 80 gigabytes off peak for customers at the $60 pricing tier. Residents who receive the federal Connect America Fund support will be eligible for 150 gigabytes, which is 100 gigabytes peak and 50 off peak for the same price. And as mentioned, there will be no firm hard data caps. They will just be a slowdown effort, and the slowdown will go to approximately 3 megabits, could be higher than that, but it will be best efforts around 3 megabits per second, which is far in excess of what people have in these areas now. Often they have nothing, and that's only in the slowdown mode. Going to the next concern, some respondents inquired about Hughes pricing and how this would differ from existing commercial pricing and whether existing satellite customers could transition to the new service. The packages that Hughes will offer as part of the new New York Broadband program are better and superior to what is offered to the general public as a result of our subsidy. They will deliver more data at a lower price per month. Hughes is working with the BPO to structure a process for existing customers also to be able to transition over to these packages. I just wanted to give you one example of this. In the case of a new New York Broadband program, 20 gigabyte package, as I said, it's a $49 installation fee, $60, and it'll be 80 gigabytes off peak. The same package currently, what's available for 20 gigabytes, instead of $60, costs $85, and there's a instead of $49, there's a $99 installation fee, and the off-peak usage is 50 gigabytes as opposed to 80. So the price is lower, the installation is lower, and the usage is also higher than what's available publicly. And our prices are also locked in for 5 years, whereas the prices to the public, it's a new satellite, they're a little bit promotional, those are going to be expected to go up. Moving to the last 2 points here. Respondent requested that the BPO publish address-level data on which locations will benefit from this service and whether Hughes pricing to be offered under the program would be available outside the grant-supported blocks. Grant-supported pricing will only be offered by Hughes within awarded census blocks. The BPO website does currently have an interactive broadband availability map and a residential search tool where any New Yorker may enter their address to see if the location will receive new broadband service from a new New York Broadband Program award and the awarded provider. Finally, environmental impacts. The town of Phillipston in Putnam County expressed concern that installation of Hughes infrastructure may disrupt a river corridor. Unlike land-based internet providers, Hughes can provide its satellite-based broadband service without constructing new infrastructure along roads or in public right-of-way. Where a customer signs up for service, Hughes will simply install equipment at that customer's home. Therefore, the environmental impact of installing Hughes service is very limited. That's it. Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Sure. Go on, Hilda.
Are there many areas in New York State that program still has not reached them?
The satellite or the broadband program as a whole?
The broadband program.
So actually, with the announcement earlier, I guess last year now, we have announced results that reach 100%. So we announced that if you took what was already in place when we started, which is around 70%, as a result of the upgrades that Charter put in place and the New York broadband program, we went from 70 to around 99 point something percent, 99.8 or 99.9%, and all but 1% is with wired broadband, so fiber, and the last 1%, this 75 that we're talking about, or 77,000 that we're talking about right now, which is around 1%, a little less, is wireless. So to answer your question, we've actually gotten to everyone by now.
And then, Jeff, there's some, obviously, delta between the time you announce a provider and service and the time they complete installation that's required. Could you talk a little bit about that? Is that typically a year-long process, or what is that?
Yeah, that's a great clarification. So when I speak about the achievement of those percentages, that's commitments are in place to build out, and that's a great clarification that the construction takes a little bit of time. So right now, as of year end, we think we're at approximately 90, with the Hughes included, which is about to launch any month, we think we're at around 98% constructed, and we have 2% of the state that is still under construction. About half of that is Charter, which is under discussions with the PSC regarding a ongoing investigation of their performance of their broadband build-out, and that timing is subject to the PSC's oversight. And then the last 1% is BPO awards, the largest of which in round 3 was a Verizon award. So those are starting now, and those will be built out over the next 1 to 2 years.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes,
just out of
sir.
curiosity, how slow is 25 megabits? In other words, if you've got a business that needs to rely on the internet, how bad is 25?
25 is actually fast. I mean, it's actually not slow. I mean, when we think about slow, you know, when we were 5-10 years ago, we had less than 1 megabit, so it was like 258 kilobytes, or now, of course, you can't do anything with that. So, you know, if you look at Netflix and you look at their website and you say, you know, just as an example, and you say, what does it take for me to stream a movie?
Right.
They'll say 3 megabits. If you ask Netflix, what does it take to stream a high-definition movie in HD, you know, I have to confirm, but I think it's like 5 megabits. So with 25, you can pretty much perform all the functions that you need to perform with the internet. There's 2 caveats to that. One caveat is that due to the distance that the satellite is in the sky, which is 22,000 miles, there's a latency. So if you're trying to do something in real time, like real-time gaming or real-time chatting or real-time, I don't know, stock trading or something, that's not going to be good for you because of the latency.
How late is it? What's the...
The latency is 750 milliseconds. So the round trip takes 3/4 of a second.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's fast enough for him, though.
Yeah, but you know, we're all used to like typing and getting the Google search right away. So you have in this one, you know, just
I just want to be sure that
Yeah.
it's good enough for the typical guy up there who's sort of starting a business.
You know, the other thing is that I address this is I think the larger concern relative to those 2 points is the data caps. And, if you are a voracious consumer of data as a business, then, or if you're a business that needs real-time connections like speed, like we talked about, or if you need high amounts of data because if you're a doctor's office and you're emailing MRI files, for example, that data cap will be a problem for you down the road. And you'll probably want to get a fiber connection. So this is a good solution, absent any other options, for those people to get online and get connected at a reasonable price. For sort of power users or businesses that are, significant businesses, they may find themselves curtailed by the data cap, and we will look for additional solutions on that.
Got it.
Sorry, Howard.
All right.
Didn't
No,
mean to
I'm just.
have a long answer, yeah. Time to move on.
It was thorough. That was
Yeah.
good. Thorough. Thank you. We all know
we
Cesar's a very avid gamer.
I would say, since we announced this a year ago, we've received many questions from the public along these lines. So I think it's great that we had a chance to review those with you, though. Thank you.
All right, excellent, well done. Any other questions or comments for Jeff? Is there any comments from the, sorry?
I was just going to, how does that work with this cell service? I mean, I remember getting lost in the North Country.
Yeah.
And trying to use my cell and.
You're right. So that's actually a similar challenge, different technology. So the satellite is, we just talked about what the satellite is. The cell tower, the cell phone relies on the cell towers, which are, those towers that you see, 200 feet, 300 feet towers. And they're much closer, obviously, so that you don't have latency. The issue with cell phone service is, in many parts of the North Country, there are no cell towers there. So the economics, similar to the broadband program, people tend to build out where there's greater density. In North Country, you don't have density of cell phone users, you have less towers. In fact, in this year's State of the State, the governor announced a upstate wireless task force to look exactly into that issue of the lack of cellular towers, and it can leverage some of the fiber that we built in the North Country to connect to those towers.
I had no cell and no gas.
Oh, I don't know about gas stations, Howard. You might be able to address that.
Let's save that for another meeting.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or comments for Jeff on any subject?
Not gas stations, though.
Let's open it wide open.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Any comments from the public? Is there a motion to approve? Cesar, Hilda, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you
Great.
very much.
Well done. Simone has some Restore New York Communities items. Simone.
Thank you. I have one Restore New York project for consideration. This is a $500,000 Round 4 grant to the Village of Owego. And the village is planning to reconstruct the 13,600 square foot Gateway building, which is located on Front Street in the center of the village's historic commercial district. The original project building was destroyed by a fire in 2000, which ruined several businesses. And in 2004, the historic Owego Marketplace Merchants Group purchased the property to ensure appropriate reconstruction occurred at the site. The newly renovated building will include 4 retail incubator spaces and 2 office spaces on the first floor, and the second and third floors will contain 8 1- and 2-bedroom apartments. And the project is expected to be complete in December 2018 at a cost of $2.7 million. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from directors for Simone on this item? Any comments from the public? Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Thank you, Hilda. Seconds. That's all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Okay. Simone, you also have a non-discretionary consent calendar?
Yes, I have 2 non-discretionary items. The first is a $600,000 local assistance Senate-sponsored grant to the Seneca County IDA for consultation services, website upgrades, and the development of 2 strategic business plans. The Seneca County IDA relies on consultants to provide its services for most of its engineering, legal, and public relations work. And in addition, the organization's website is in dire need of an update, which is beyond the capabilities of the current staff. So it's going to be hiring a consultant to upgrade the website and also create an economic development strategic plan and strategic business development plan. And this project is expected to be complete in December 2019. And the second item is also a local assistance Senate-sponsored $500,000 grant to the Center State Corporation for Economic Opportunity. This is a two-tiered project in which the organization will use $100,000 of the grant to capitalize the Central New York Community Events Program and offer financial support to musical, cultural, and community events and festivals within the city of Syracuse and throughout the surrounding area. The second component of the project will see $400,000 of the grant utilized to support the Grants for Growth program, which is a model for encouraging university industry partnerships and entrepreneurial development. And this project is expected to be complete in December 2020. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Simone. Any questions or comments from directors on these non-discretionary or budget line item types of projects? Any comments from the public on either of these items? Is there a motion to approve both?
Moved.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, thanks, Simone. Let's see what we have left. Christine Kostopoulos will present the New York State Electric Generation Facility Cessation Mitigation Program. Christine.
Good morning, thanks. The directors are being asked to approve two grants for approximately $3.8 million from the Electric Generation Closure Program Fund, one to the City of Dunkirk and the other to the Dunkirk City School District. The grants will offset the reduction of payments and property taxes to those entities from Dunkirk Power LLC due to the closure of their electric generation facility. This is the third program year, and the grants represent 60% of the property tax losses. Approval of these grants brings total disbursements from the fund to $23.9 million. Thank you. I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, any questions from directors for Christine on this item?
Yeah, just a question of curiosity. So it's to offset the reduction from tax collections. Does this become an ongoing payment, or this is a one-time? How does that
This is a 7-year program, and the grant payments reduced by 10% each year. So the first program year it was 80% of the tax loss. The last program year it will be 7 years less.
Okay. 10%. Thank you.
So it ratchets down 10% each year that it triggers it. Okay, any other questions or comments for Christine on this energy cessation mitigation? Any comments from the public on this? I'm sorry, is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Christine. Maria Mitchell is up next and will present an item related to NeuroCures New York Working Capital Planning Grant from the Life Science Initiative Fund to the Burke Neurological Institute. I want to note that on the phone, I believe we also have Dr. Raj Ratan, Executive Director of the Burke Neurological Institute and Interim Acting Director of NeuroCures New York. Okay, with that introduction, Maria, take it away.
Thanks, Howard. Good morning, everybody. As Howard just said, in keeping with the Life Sciences Initiative to focus to grow New York's commercial life science industry, this is a request to make a working capital planning grant in the amount of $500,000 to the Burke Neurological Institute, which is an affiliate of Weill Cornell Medical School, to establish an entity being called NeuroCures New York. The ultimate goal of NeuroCures New York is to create a statewide clinical trial organization that combines both the efficiencies of the private sector pharma research along with the more independence of the academic research community, which would make it a go-to resource for both pharma and biotech companies to seek and test their products for therapies for neurological diseases. NeuroCures New York is a joint venture of Burke, the University of Rochester, and Wadsworth Center, institutions that have synergistic core competencies in neurological disorders, including a long track record of commercialization. NeuroCures New York is now, as a result of this planning process, an incorporated not-for-profit. The organization will establish a sustainable network of referring physicians committed to evaluating potential therapies for neurological impairment, a field which is increasingly neglected by pharma but in great demand throughout the country and the globe, quite frankly. What makes this unique is that the creation of a sustainable trial infrastructure and platform, including leveraging Berk's expertise in the use of robotic technology, will make these evaluations much more efficient and much more robust. So just to explain that a little bit, which Raj can do as well, with the Berk's outstanding robotics technology, because these neurological deficiencies make movements very slow and almost undetectable. So when you're testing therapeutics, it's very hard to measure success. Given using the robotics, it makes a much more accurate test of whether or not the therapeutics are potentially effective. NeuroCures New York will offer several important economic and therapeutic benefits. It will attract commercial companies to run clinical trials in New York State, creating revenue for the state, generate jobs in trial management, product development, rehab, and data analysis, encourage greater investment by venture funds and investors, result in the creation of new intellectual property and spin-off companies, and attract medical tourists to New York State as stroke recovery trials around the world are very limited. This working capital grant is for the now completed work to develop a sustainable business plan and to create the legal agreements, documentation, and filings required to establish this not-for-profit entity incorporated, as I just said, NeuroCures New York. Just a note, this funding specifically addresses a request by the legislature in the initial life science budget for a larger sum to be used for development of the network later on. But just to let you know, we have been working on that with NeuroCures New York, and we will be coming back to the board in the very near future with an additional funding request for the fuller program. If successful, the network will be a unique commercial asset, not only in New York, but globally, as neurological impairment due to stroke, Alzheimer's, spinal cord, and brain injury affects millions. The lack of effective treatments for the disability and impairment resulting from these conditions imposes great personal suffering and a high financial burden. So I'm happy to take any questions, and I'm sure Raj on the phone, who has worked tirelessly over the last year and a half to bring this to a point where we could bring it to you, would be happy to answer questions as well.
Okay. Any questions from the directors? Do we want to, since Raj has joined us, do we want to give Raj the opportunity to talk about his center for a couple of minutes? Raj, do you want to supplement anything that Maria said? Or
Well, Maria did an outstanding job. I think she covered most of the points. I think I'll just amplify a few things that may surprise and astonish you. I think, as Maria mentioned, if you just take stroke, the leading cause of physical disability in the United States and in New York, and Alzheimer's disease, the leading cause of cognitive disability, those two diseases by 2050, because of the aging population and because of the paradox of progress of our ability to keep people alive longer, are estimated to cost New York more than $70 billion a year, and the United States $1.4 trillion, and that includes costs of healthcare, medicines, and the costs of lost work. So there is a desperate need for a solution, and the approaches that pharma have been taking are not getting us to those answers. So we need an innovative trials network that will allow us to do this. And I think the other point that I would amplify is that by bringing together, using the robotics and bringing together institutions, we can have many, and creating a stable network that isn't constructed and deconstructed every time an agent is tested. We're going to have the ability to test many combinations moving forward to find that one that really can cure disability. And I think the impact will not only be statewide, but global. The other point I would just make is that the investments in the infrastructure that are going to be facilitated through the ESD are going to allow us to offer for companies the opportunity to have industry standard and FDA approvable studies at a fraction of the cost that they currently costs them. And so I think they're going to be able to make smaller investments in de-risking their IP in intellectual property in humans. So we're really excited about the promise of NeuroCures New York, and I am very grateful to both Maria and Joan for all the help and support that they've given us in being able to craft this plan.
Okay, thank you, Raj. Appreciate it. Is there any questions or comments from directors on this item?
But the plan right now is to offer that service to sort of, in a sense, to any pharma company that wants to test its potential therapeutic solutions with you. Is that the idea?
If I just, Raj can expand on this, but the first, this planning grant was to develop the business plan, develop the entity, et cetera, get these academic institutions working together to create a viable commercial entity. The next phase we come back to you with will be basically pilot work that will be done. And Raj, why don't you talk about how?
So it'll be the plan of what of the best way to use your resources?
Yes, given the rough number assigned by the legislature, and it was both the New York First program and this that the legislature asked us to do within the life science industry, and sort of breaking up those dollars that they allocated to these programs, making the best use of the dollars that was allocated to this NeuroCures New York is really to test the idea and prove the idea, so that our dollars are going to be sort of proof of principle ideas for this new not-for-profit, which then we believe, everybody who's working on this believes, that we'll then be able to take this and it will become self-sustainable with the proof of principle concept tested over the 2 years in a couple of therapeutics.
Okay. So you've answered, because my concern is that there's hundreds of millions of dollars being spent on trying to find solutions to these neurological problems, like at Alzheimer's and other things. So if you're spending the money to sort of figure out your, particular value added in this, then I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they're doing.
That was my question. Okay.
Other questions or comments from directors on this? Any comments from the public on this item? Is there a motion to approve? Thank you, Derek. Cesar, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Maria and Dr. Rattan. Appreciate your participation. Next up, Mario Cohn will present an item relating to contract amendments for the Moynihan Station Civic Land Use Improvement Project. Mario.
Good morning. Today, the directors are being requested to authorize 2 contract amendments for credit rating services provided in connection with the Moynihan Station Civic and Land Use Improvement Project. The first contract is with Fitch Ratings, and the second is with Kroll Bond Rating Agency. We're asking that the contract with Fitch be increased to a total contract amount of $290,000 and that the term be extended through August 2021. We are also asking that the contract with Kroll be increased to a total contract amount of $240,000 and that the term be extended through September 2021. In May of 2017, the directors authorized the corporation to enter into a Transportation Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act loan from the United States Department of Transportation to finance a portion of the design and construction of Phase 2 of the Moynihan project. In order to provide the loan, TIFIA required ESD to receive investment-grade credit ratings from nationally recognized rating agencies. ESD did so by contracting with both Fitch and Kroll for such public ratings. In addition to the initial credit ratings, the TIFIA loan requires that beginning in June of 2018, ESD obtain an annual public rating on the TIFIA loan. Fitch and Kroll prepared such annual rating for 2018, and we will need both agencies to continue to provide annual credit rating monitoring services through 2021 and when ESD plans to draw on the TIFIA loan. Thus, for Fitch, the directors are being asked to authorize an extension of the term through 2021 and a contract increase of $140,000 for a total contract amount not to exceed $290,000. And for Kroll, the directors are being requested to authorize a new contract term to extend through September 2021 and to approve a contract increase of $100,000 for a total contract amount not to exceed $240,000. Both contracts are funded by the MTA. Thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions or comments from directors on this item to Mario? Any comments from the public on these contract amendments? Is there a motion to approve both? Thank you. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, thank you, Marielle. I think we have run through our agenda items. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'm so moved.
All right. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
You-
Da, 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 da.
I'm looking forward to this.
I didn't know there was a.
I'm going to do a
Alabama, New York.
presentation on that at the next.